What we're going to do, guys, is we're going to sit 10K off a target, we're going to blap it really quick, and then we're going to warp to the run spot. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Outstanding. Okay, stand by.
So hey guys, here's the deal. They got their Prophecy fleet up, and then Razor also has an Oracle fleet. So we should have some interesting stuff about to happen.
So it's going to be like this. We're going to portal through, and at the same time, the triage carriers are going to jump. Just the triage carriers at first. Everyone clear?
Let me see. Oh crap. I think... Will we be able to take on Guardians?
Yeah, they got 4 Guardians. I don't think we should do this.
I don't think we can do this. Don't worry about that.
Now we're gonna fucking play some fun games.
My heart's racing.
Relax. All wings align. Primary is the Dominics in 5, 4, 3, 2. Decloak, decloak, decloak. Torpedoes on the Dominics, Dominics, Dominics.
Orbit on me, micro warp drives on. We're moving.
Secondaries, Vipers, and the Omen.
He's in structure. Take him down.
Newt, that revelation out now.
All newts on the ramp.
Run out towards that jump now.
All damps on the damnation, all damps on the damnation. Scepter, stay here and tackle prophecies. This is where we fight.
Alright. So I'm carrying 100 times more than my ship is worth. There were some pirates chasing me. There's one guy chasing me through like 5 different systems. I need to get the fuck out of this system.
This little rock right here is worth about 166 million ISK. For some people this might not be a big deal, but for me, it's huge.
Seller 4.2, pretty nice. Gonna produce 4 of them, 2 days, 19 hours, 11 minutes, 44 seconds. We can expect to make 8 to 10 million around there.
51 out of 56 grid? Okay, good. And we've got 5 modules to fit in here. The ship's speed is actually pretty good. It can hit 4K a second. We're gonna hurt that now by adding on some armor buffer.
Up success. Yeah. Thanks, dudes.
Yay, Sophos is so much fun.
Oh yeah, such fun. It's almost done now. Like less than a week. Oh look. Okay, good. Oh, wow. That is Ricks and Gigs right there.
Archimean silos down, Archimean silos down. Go, 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 silos down. Portal, portal, primary.
Gate is green, gate is green. Sniper skills to long range, utilize BSC. Timer got idle and green, come on.
Oh shit, how do I warp to something? E-War Jones, all E-War Jones on Scott. Where are you decloaking?
Show me the secondary.
Oh my god, that's a Titan! Holy shit!
Let's go, get those fucking bombs out. Red group fire, gold group stand by. Come on, boys. Come on, come on, come on, yeah! Yeah! Oh, that's fucking sweet.
Hey guys! Together, we can make 2015 the best year in the history of EVE Online. There is such a fire and ambition in the whole EVE team, from customer support to development, for this mission that we are on. To strengthen what is unique and amazing about EVE, and to make your player experience with EVE better. We here are part of something unique. It's a sandbox game where your actions have the chance to really affect what others experience, with consequences in one shared world. And it's a game with unpredictable outcomes, which is why your skills and ingenuity and innovation actually matter. And it's a game that's really about playing and outplaying other people, whether you want to do that solo, in a small group, or as part of a huge coalition. You are all citizens in this world, And the future of all of it is in your hands. And it's been such a fast-paced and dramatic time in EVE since we were here last year at Fanfest in May. Back then, you were probably all wondering how this new release model that I described to you back then was going to work out for EVE. And now we have shipped you 8 of these releases, with the 9th one hitting Tranquility on Tuesday. We killed the skill queue limit and medical clones, we overhauled industry, we added Mordu's Legion ship, the Bowhead, Tech 3 destroyers, we dealt with force projection and our Phase 1 nullsec changes, we vastly improved ship rendering, we made over the whole UI, bookmarks in space, shareable overviews, copy-paste fitting import, Thera, Circadian Seekers, burner missions. I can't even list all the stuff because it's just so much. Taken together, these releases contain more than we have ever shipped in this kind of time frame. And since last FanFest, we have also seen player meets grow. EVE Vegas, EVE Down Under, and EVEsterdam were all the biggest they've ever been. EVE players all over the world want to meet in person. And it's really great to see initiatives like EVE Meet made by players to help people organize and find meetups. So if you're not here at FanFest today, go there and find some EVE players to meet. And after the changes in Phoebe, we've seen some good brawls go down, especially in the south and southeast. And a big return of Red Alliance, as reported here by the scope. And as happens in EVE, some people got some stuff stolen, and a couple of big heists to the tune of hundreds of billions of ISK. And then there was This Is EVE. When we moved to this new release model, we also rethought how we do videos. We used to do, trailer, like expansion trailers, and This Is EVE was really our first attempt in a while to do a trailer that was about EVE as a game. And we asked you for your best voice comms, and then we used all of our visual storytelling skills to help show what these peak moments in EVE can look like. And when we started seeing version of this come together inside CCP, people were really excited about it. And we knew it was a good trailer. But we still thought that was pretty, it was probably too nerdy for people who didn't play EVE, maybe? So, but we still put it out there, and just, wow, were we wrong. It turns out that anyone with a heart and a brain immediately got it, even if they didn't know what Primers the Dominics meant. It makes me so happy that we could help show you to the world like that, like the badass space pilots you are. And this trailer has more views than any other EVE video we've made, somewhere approaching 2.5 million views now, all because of the things that you do in EVE. And then, of course, you gave the people who came to EVE after seeing this trailer such a great reception. Oh, you did! It was amazing to see Adopt the New Bro and all kinds of amazing initiatives. It was really lovely to watch. So after this video went out, we opened a contest for anyone who wanted to make a video in the spirit of This Is EVE. We got a lot of both funny and beautiful submissions. And I have for you here now the 3 finalists that I'll show you short clips from before we'll watch the full winning video. So here are the nominees for the first prize player video inspired by This Is EVE.
I took a risk. I made my route of escape and warped to the Stargate. Upon landing, I initiated my jump drive to sling me far away from my space. And there was pure bliss. And into the unknown I begin.
X까지 매끄러.
웰컴.
사인업. 점프. 판터 오른쪽 클릭하고 점프 투 파인 해카스에 점프 파인.
사이트 클리어됐습니다, 여러분. 오늘 이 편전을 참가해주셔서 감사합니다. 이상 FC 기온이었습니다.
All right, And let's watch the full winning video. Here he comes.
흥분 너너. 잡담하죠 지금.
이제 네가 제일 흥분한 것 같은데.
아니 나는 침착해 지금. 지금 누구보다 침착하는데.
만약에 내가 정말 뭘 칠지 모르겠다는 태그를 쫓으면 되고 항상 프라이머리는 나이아자를 하는 배야.
저기 쓸 때 DB1을 저기 프로코 쓸 때 일단 해줘. 컴패서들은 그 대충 봤을 때 옵티멀 한 50에서 60 사이면 무조건 그냥 써버리면 놓지 말고. 그만 풀어볼래?
씨발 일단 아무거나 다 때려 패 그냥.
아 이러면 안 된다고.
야 이게 리켈롬이지 씨발.
그래 씨발 내가 한번 불러보자.
그래 야 우리 인세인 한번 가보자.
내가 한번 불러보자.
야 오스로스 워퍼해가지고 오스로스 잡아.
몰라 스쿼드 워퍼 땡겼어. 오스로스한테 바로 갈 거야.
오스로스 그냥 원빨리 저거 터지거든. 탱 안 돼. 고고고고고고고 오스로스 고고고고고 할 수 있어. 오로드맨 태클 오스로스 태클.
왜 껴갔다. S 그다음 S 프라이머리. 다 태클해. 스프릿 태클해. 다 태클해 지금.
프라이머리 백서 이슈. 아이소락스 지금 타겟했다. 일단 백서 GPS 유지. 말하지 말고 브로드캐스트 MORTA 약관 프라이머리. MORTA 약관 프라이머리. 야 아까 아마 12%인데 지금 15% 됐잖아. 3분 전에 12%인데 지금 15%가 됐다고. 야 너 어디 갔냐? 야 너 어디 갔어?
보통 보자. 그러니까 이렇게 해가지고 1시간에 얼마 나오냐 이거잖아. 그럼 많이 나올 때 350? 370? 400까지 나온 것 같은데?
저 사이노에서부터 정확히 5,000m에 떨어져. 그러니까 저 사이노 5,000m 주위에 그 모든 지역이 도킹 가능한 위치에 사이노를 여는 것이 중요해.
쉽게 게이트 워프, 세이프티 레드 안 해도 못 친다. 세이프티 레드하고 쉽게 게이트 워프, 탈로스나 이런 거 탄 애들 킬레인지 다 설정해놔라.
갱부 준비하고 이제 나 플리컴도 내려갈 거야. 워프만 랜딩하고 하슴제로 게이트 워프 땡기고.
걔네 가디언 우리 거의 다 따라왔다.
그 뭐냐 로지들 지금 플리도프 안 받는 설정 지금 당장 켜. 뭐야 뭐 0kg 해.
야 이렇게던데? 로지 당근 달려.
어떡할래?
프라이머리 프레모드비 X 가디언.
나 그냥 반대편으로 게이트 반대편으로 달린다.
웹거로 X 가디언 웹거로.
웰컴.
사인업.
사인업. 점점. 판터 오른쪽 브레이크하고 점프 투 파인 해카스에 점프
사이트 클리어 됐습니다 여러분. 오늘 인터뷰를 참가해주셔서 감사합니다. 이상 FC 기온이었습니다.
사인 빠져.
왔다야.
야 이발 미스 왔는데?
미스 떨어졌다.
안녕.
오버로드.
뭐해?
딜 집중. 오버로드 맨.
오스로 졸라.
Yep. Big congratulations to the makers, and you can see more of the submissions to the contest in the community area here at Fanfest. With all this change happening in EVE, I thought that you might be interested in some data about it. So I've asked our data scientist, CCP Quant, to put together some snapshots for you of what's going on in EVE. Please welcome to the stage CCP Quant.
Thank you, Andy. So, we want to give you a brief overview of the activity in EVE Online for the past 2 years. And what better way to do it than to talk about damage? Damage is a key part of the EVE Online economy. It drives destruction and consumption. We can tell every major event in EVE Online simply by looking at damage. Damage in this context is raw hit point numbers. Summing up all these little damage numbers you see when you shoot others or get shot at. And what I'm about to show you now is the total damage in EVE Online for the past 2 years. Starting off with the amount of damage Concord does to other players. At roughly 3 million hit points a day. The thick line represents a 7-day moving average. There are spikes here and there, but the largest two ones stand out. Burn Jira in 2013 and 14 respectively. The one in 2014 just beat 2013 by about 1 million hit points, peaking at just over 20 million damage in hit points done by Concord in a single day. That's around 6,000 catalysts. Now let's move up the scale a bit. Yes. The damage scale here is now in the region of 700 million hit points. The total amount of damage players do to one another is a little more than 100 times that of Concord, averaging at around 380 million hit points a day. As with Concord damage, we can spot patterns of activities, one spike in particular at the end of January 2014. And to see the full scope of it, we actually have to move further up the scale. The Battle of BR5RB. 1.4 billion hit points in a single day. As you can see, Concord damage is but a straight line on this graph now. Now let's move further up the scale. Actually, a lot further. You know, this reminds me of the video comparing sizes of stars in our galaxy. Just going up exponentially. We're now in the region of 10 billion hit points. 11, 12. We now have what we all love, structure grinding. Yep. Averaging at 5 billion hit points per day. This is roughly equivalent to the total amount of damage NPCs do to players. Well, but this line isn't as volatile. Is grinding is a stable business. Now, let's go back to the structure damage. The spike there I marked for you, immediately following the bloodbath of BR5RB. After all, once I'd lost, a lot of space had to change ownership, and you all know what that entails. In fact, all the spikes you see on this graph together tell the story of sovereignty warfare in EVE for the past 24 months. And we have to, again, move further up a scale to get that into full view. 15, 20, 30, 35, 37 billion hit points players ground through in a single day. In the Rubicon expansion, we opened up high-sec planetary custom offices to players. So naturally, the NPC ones had to be destroyed, only to be replaced by player-manufactured ones. And you might notice that by now, PvP damage is but a straight line on this graph. But the winner here, in terms of consistent damage, shouldn't surprise anyone. Player shooting NPCs. Consistently at 24 billion hit points a day. This is what players get paid to do. Killing NPCs for loot and bounties, this is the single largest source of ISK in the EVE Online economy. But looking back at that peak of 38 billion hit points, I put that into perspective. Any player here should be able to relate to. Now, that's a lot of structured grinding there. Now, if we go back to the different time series of damage I just showed you and plot them on a single logarithmic scale, each horizontal line on a logarithmic scale is 10 times the one below it. This way we can plot them all in a single graph, and based on the changes already announced to sovereignty warfare, I actually did a simple forecast for you guys. I want to show you how this is likely to progress in the coming months. And of course I made an animation out of it for good measure. Structured grinding, all this structured grinding. So it gets eliminated. And since we're looking into activity, there's so much more to take from. You guys generate 52 gigabytes of raw logs every single day. You stole my punchline, it's coming. All right, so these logs help us understand how you guys use EVE Online, help us prioritizing features by usage, monitoring reactions to changes, identifying issues, and sometimes the log showed nothing, thanks, dude. And we all have these preconceived ideas of stereotypes in EVE Online. The miner, the carebear, the no-bear, the bitterwet, the pirate, the station trader, just to name a few. And we want to see if we could find stereotypes like this by using math and data sorcery. So we aggregated all these log events into daily statistics, counters of activities. Here's a picture of some of these variables. How often you lost a ship or a pod, how often you killed or got kill assists. How much did you mine or trade or travel? How many industry jobs did you install? The list goes on. And by taking all these variables, aggregating them on a player level, transforming them, doing dimensional reduction with principal components analysis, and finally running it through a clustering algorithm, we get player segments. On the left side of this graph, you'll see high-level aggregated variables used in the clustering. And the vertical colored bands group these variables by activity. The gray band is the game time, how many days players log in and how long your sessions last. Green is travel, undocking, warping, jumping by security class, followed by PvE activities, missions and mining, science, industry and trading, social activities like chat and fleet participation, and assistance, flying logistics or remotely repairing other players. And finally, PvP, tackling, killing, assisting in killing, or declaring wars. And now the segments themselves. First, we have the professionals, the players who are just active across the board. They travel a lot to missions, mining, industry, are very actively communicating with each other, other players, fly logistics, and are active in PvP. Just overall doing everything. Then we have the entrepreneurs, who are very similar to the professionals, are more industry focused and doing less of killing and generally stick to empire space. Aggressors differ from professionals in the same way as entrepreneurs, only in the opposite direction. They do little or nothing on science and industry and really make up for it in PvP. Next segment is the social segments. These players log in a few times a week, maybe chat with their friends and dock a few times, but generally don't play much. Or what some of you so eloquently call it, playing skill queue online, TM. Finally, there are the traditionals, who play the game more like a traditional MMO, focusing on high-sec mission running, mining, trading, often solo or small groups. So you see, these are the actual stereotypes. All this data, some math happened, and this is what we found. And if you think about it, taking the pirate as an example, He probably has an industry or trading alt, making ISK in order to finance his activities of piracy, making him as a player not only a pirate, but an aggressor or a professional. And this is how the entire player base is segmented as of last month. Most players are professionals, followed by traditional entrepreneurs. Now, a lot of you in here must have already picked a segment in mind, the one that you think you belong to. And I can tell you, over 50% of you are professionals. No surprise there. 13% are entrepreneurs, followed by aggressors and social players. Not that many traditionals, though, but some. And going back to these variables, I've been sometimes asked whether players behave differently depending on their country of origin. Nearly all the variables are blended across countries. No country significantly stands out doing anything more than the other ones. But there was this one exception. Looking at the average number of industry jobs made per player by country, you know where this is going, right? Germany and Japan stood out. So we have these stereotypes. And we have Finland there as well, and interestingly, countries adjacent to Germany, Netherlands, Poland, and Austria. Now, the next graph I'm going to show you is this beauty. Full of love. This is EU Online alliances in a perspective you've never seen before. On the horizontal scale, we have the average number of alts per member in the same alliance. On the vertical scale, we have the average number of years their members have been playing EVE. And despite the obvious pun behind this graph, there are some really interesting insights here. You can spot the difference in card between the three largest new player-friendly alliances by these two axes. EVE University has new players. They usually graduate to join other alliances. So on average, they haven't been in EVE for long. Brave newbies are doing sovereignty warfare, and thus the need for alts increases. And finally, REB not only has new players, but also older ones that come and go. So alliances mostly are likely to move into this direction during their lifetimes. Their members will add years of experience, and the number of alts increases for utility purposes. You need alts for Sino, logistics, capital warfare, and scouting. Most of the large established alliances, they are actually spread along the center of the graph and upwards. Another really interesting observation here, I don't know if you can read this, but we have the ultimate BFFs of EVE Online. Northern Coalition and Pandemic Legion sit tightly together with really similar composition of members. You know, when you have no less than 12 Black Legion spies, chances are you have some alts to spare. And back to this, once again, because there's one more thing I'd like to tell you. Wouldn't it be nice if you had access to your card data? We've aggregated all these variables for the years 2013, 14, and 15 to date and made yearly aggregated values for all carders active in these periods. And CCP Fox 4 managed to program a crashed endpoint to this data at a record time, just making it into CC before FanFest. And we've already had 3 players of the community make prototypes for providing you with visualizations of this data, which you can access now, logging in securely on our SSO. Big thanks to Bellatro, Ariel, and Lucas Rocks for making these. And I want to point out that all these stats wouldn't be available if it wasn't for our CCP Atlas, or Nonny B, who's somewhere here in the audience, but this is his pet product. And yeah, grandfather of this product. Let's give him a clap. And if you like to know more about the analytics behind this, join me on a data science presentation tomorrow at 15. I'm now going to give the stage back to CB Seco. Thank you very much, and enjoy your Fanfest.
Thank you, CCP Quant. And there's some data in that set that you've never been able to access before. I think there's a lot for logistics pilots to be happy about, and I hope we'll see some really cool visualizations from this. But now I have some data to show you about the election of the new Council of Stellar Management. But first, let's say a huge thank you to CSM9 for all of their work in representing you as players in our development work. Thank you to CSM9. So elections for the 10th Council of Stellar Management just concluded. There was a record number of both applying candidates and people who ended up actually running. 75 eligible candidates were available to vote for. It's more than we've ever had. And we've seen a lot of campaign activity and analysis and debates in the EVE media, and the voter turnout was higher than last year. So, without further ado, let me give you the election results and introduce you to your new Council of Stellar Management. The people will be represented on this slide in no particular order, but first I'll introduce to you members of CSM9 who got re-elected. And then, new members. And the two candidates on top of the most ballots with permanent attendance at the summits in Reykjavik are Sugar and Manfred. Big congratulations to the new Council of Stellar Management. I really look forward to working with you and arguing with you to make EVE the best it can be. But now, I'd like to give you some updates on what we're doing to make your player experience with EVE better. The first update is around our releases and how to understand what changes are coming to EVE. And this shift from 2 expansions to 10 releases has worked really well for us. And on Tuesday, like I said, we're shipping Scylla, the 9th release in this new model. From that release and onwards, we're making some tweaks to this process that I would like to explain to you now. So we will continue to do bigger code deployments about every 5 weeks. And these are the dates that we have planned for 2015. But we're now in this great place where we can release things to EVE pretty much whenever we want. And we're shipping so often that putting all of this focus on the release dates, it doesn't really make sense like it used to. Many features will, of course, still go live on those bigger deployment dates. But more and more stuff is possible for us to ship also between those dates. Changes like the length of the trial, or new ship skins, or clothing, even balance changes, or maybe activation of big features, they can be released to you as a player pretty much at any time. And to reflect this new reality, we need a new way to communicate what's upcoming in EVE Online. So we made this new website called EVE Updates that shows you all the upcoming changes to EVE and when they'll become available to you. So instead of one website per release, you'll just see all the upcoming features here. And so here's an example with some of the Scylla features, the Ishtar and Railgun's rebalance changes. And if we zoom out a little bit, here you see all the features announced for Scylla. From now on, whenever we announce a feature to become available on some date, such as we have with our sovereignty mechanics changes, for example, a new date marker will go up on this site, like this, along with a card for that feature. And if for any reason we need to move a feature, you would see that updated on Eve updates. And you can look at previous features in the archive. Right now, we have our old releases represented there as links to their respective release or expansion pages. But in the future, as we roll out with this, if someone's asking, what's happened in Eve since I checked last, you'll be able to see all of that in the archive right there by just scrolling back through. And you can filter the features using a couple of simple tags. So we will continue to give names to big updates. And we'll continue to make in development videos about features and wallpapers and other materials, and write devlogs that announce big features, just like we do today. But the focus will be on just that, the features themselves. So this is really a new world of continuous updates to EVE Online. So go bookmark this page. I recommend it. We're also working really hard on a number of projects to improve your experience with how you manage your player account and the player service we provide. Our new Technical Support Help Center, for example, is fully searchable and has articles on a number of common support ticket topics. And more of them have helpful videos, too. And we'll be extending this kind of self-help to more topics in the near future, so that we can help you and save you as much trouble as possible, and make it faster when you actually really need personal support from one of our game masters. One problem that isn't very common, but when it happens, it's super painful for everyone involved, is account hacking and theft. And I'm very pleased to announce today a first phase of two-factor authentication. So in this first phase, we're able to protect logins to EVE websites and account management. And doing that protects against almost all cases of outright account theft. We still have more technical work to do before we can also fully protect logins to the client. If you go through the launcher, you get two-factor authentication, but if you bypass the launcher, we can't protect that just yet. So this is a phase 1. It's planned for April 28th. You'll get an option in account management to turn on two-factor authentication. Once you've activated it through an email code, you'll be able to use the Google Authenticator app or continue to receive codes by email. And you'll have all the details and so on in a devlog as we're nearing release. Another big change around EVE, shipping on Tuesday actually, is download on demand. With this change, what you get when you download EVE is the code for the client and a few starting assets in the resource cache. Once the client starts, it'll download a few things it knows it needs right away, such as the simplest models for all the spaceships in the game. But from then on, you'll only download things as you encounter them when you play. And this means you don't need to download big files for parts of the game that you might not be using. And for most use cases, especially for new players and for people on a good internet connection, the experience is very smooth. But if you want to make sure that you have everything on disk, you can instruct the EVE launcher to go and pre-fetch all of the resources for you. And if that completes, the client behaves just like it does today. One benefit of this new model is that it lets us do something that you have been asking about for some time. High-resolution textures. So in the past, we just had no feasible way to deliver these to you. They're quite sizable, and we just couldn't force this download on everyone. But now, with download on demand, we can just make it a simple setting. So if your machine can handle it, we can give it to you. And I'll show you some examples of what these high-res textures look like. It's a pretty subtle effect, but if you like to look at your spaceship up close, it does make quite a bit of a difference. And here's another example. And we're going to make exact release plans for this once download on demand is well established on Tranquility, but this is coming. But the biggest reason for this change is the difference it makes for those who are new to EVE. Getting from here to here is something that currently takes at least an hour of setup and downloading for most new players, and a lot of times even longer. With a new, much, much slimmer download, new players can be in space in as little as 5 minutes. And as you know, we've been working on this new approach for how to introduce new players to EVE. It's a system that we call opportunities that lets you explore what's possible in EVE in a much more free-form and action-based way. And since February, we have been testing out giving this pretty small set of opportunities to half of all new players, replacing 78 little Aura tutorial steps and about 6,500 words with just these 7 opportunities, about 1,000 words. And we now have conclusive data from that test. This set of opportunities is doing better in terms of getting people into EVE and having them sign up to be subscribers. So, given that signal, our next step for opportunities that will go live on Tuesday in that same test to half of new players is that we're adding a few more, covering the map and navigation, the market, chat and corporations, and fitting specifically. And if we see the same kind of signal from this test, we expect to roll out opportunities to all new players in the coming months. And then move on to how this type of learning can be applied to some more areas in EVE, not just the very, very first steps. So if you deal a lot with new players, we really appreciate any help and feedback you have with us developing this. But speaking of fitting, here's something else we have in the works: ghost fitting. We expect this should be useful for both new and old players. What you see here is a working prototype in the client of a ghost fitting feature that lets you fit any ship, modular rig, whether you own it or not. And you can see the results of turning active modules on and off, or overloading modules, and you can see drone stats for a fit as well. And of course, you can save the fits and share them and all the stuff you do with shared fittings. Yep. And we need to have a team kind of finish this up and actually take it into production, but this is not very far from a test server. But now, let's talk some more about spaceships. There are over 200 different ship hulls that players can fly in EVE Online, each one designed and crafted by our fantastic art and graphics team here in Reykjavik. Starting actually 5 years ago, this team has worked relentlessly to update the technology and content for how we render these ships, to keep EVE Online and all the ships looking amazing even 12 years after EVE launched. And this extensive effort has now put us in a place where we are ready and able to let you have more influence over what your ship looks like. So last year, we introduced this pilot program with a small number of ship skins. It was a test to see what kind of interest there would be, but we were limited by technology and by performance, and also quite aware of how this manufacturing these ships from blueprints was not the most accessible experience. So we've been working on a new way to customize the look of your ship, where the visual configuration of the ship's surface is tied to your character in the form of a license, and where you can easily change between skins on the fitting screen. And these licenses can be purchased either for Aurum or from other players for ISK on the EVE market. You can preview any skin from the fitting window or the ship info window, and once you've acquired a license, you inject it for your character, and that skin then becomes permanently available for your character to use for the relevant ship. And once you've injected it, the license can't be resold. This new feature is in full development as we speak, and I'd like to show you some just in-game preview of this straight from development, how it'll all look and work. So let's start with an example of someone just changing the skin of their Vexor. And you'll also be able to see when others change skin in space. And we'll of course have some options for the biggest ships in the game. So the first set of skins that we're releasing with this new system are all based on factions in the game. So let's take a look at some of the ships you'll be able to fly. All right, so those are the skin licenses that we're releasing first with this new system. In total, it's about 100 new ones, and it'll be like 130 in total, because we're also transforming the ones that we've sold as part of this pilot program. Any skin that you've purchased as part of that program and the Fanfest Quave skins that are on offer now, for example, will be transformed to permanent skins when this launches, given that you still have either the blueprint or the skin ship. And all of this stuff you just saw is planned to ship on April 29th. And these faction-based skins are just the beginning. We're already working on the next set of skins that won't be tied to in-game factions, but rather be created by different designers in New Eden, similar to how the character clothing is done. And I just want to show you a small set of examples of some of the stuff we're exploring. So here's a few for Minmatar. And a couple of Kaldari. So Capsuleers are rising to more and more power in New Eden. And this development in how ships can look is really a big reflection of that. Now, many of these ships have a really long history. And some of that is described in this new book that we're making, The Art of New Eden. And to talk more about that, and also give you an update on how some of the ships make it into physical reality, I'd like to invite CCP Torbe Frans to the stage. Torbe.
Thank you, Andy, and hello, everyone. Those ships are so badass. So cool. So, last year, we partnered with Dark Horse Comics to publish two comic book, and this book, Eve Source. Now, Eve Source was a compendium of the universe of EVE Online. It had cool images, beautiful and really detailed text descriptions describing the lore and the setting of the EVE universe, finally kind of all combined together in one book. And the reception to it actually took us by surprise. The limited edition sold out in less than 7 hours, and the hardcore edition has sold like really, really well. And there's a lot of excitement, and generally just people are pretty happy with the book, which made us really, really happy. But there was one recurring kind of reaction to it. People wanted more hot picks. It was a bit too wordy for some. It was cool for me. So we've partnered with Dark Horse Comics to develop this book, The Art of New Eden. And I personally am like super excited about this book. So it's 192 pages. It's roughly 1,000 images spanning the history of EVE Online and the EVE universe combined with Dust 514 and EVE Valkyrie over a period of I think 15 years. So we went back and we collected a lot of original concept art, which was just on like napkins under somebody's seat or in cupboards or hidden away somewhere in the art department, and also found some of the latest concept art from the game and combined it together with some witty remarks and also some clever words written by CCP Falcon about the ships in something which I hope that you will appreciate as much as we do. It was really fun, like putting these together. It really shows how the ships have evolved, and we thought a lot about it because some of them were like, are we sure we're going to put this like 15-year-old's like really bad napkin sketch out there? And some of the artists are like still working on the project. They were like their late teens or early 20s when they started working on EVE, and some of these illustrations are by them. And of course, they've grown and developed as artists over the years. But we decided just to put it out there, and it kind of shows you both how like the ships have evolved and how their art style and how their talent has evolved. It was also funny that I'll go back. We had to raise like there was a bunch of like phone numbers and like social security numbers, and have to like go and see this person at 8 o'clock. One guy's ex-girlfriend's number was there. We had to take that out, and so it's very personal to us. We were really excited about it. Now there's a man called Duncan Harris who runs a website called Dead End Thrills. Really great game screenshots, and he's done a lot of screenshots from EVE. And it's one of the examples where a player from EVE shows us the game in a way that we haven't seen it before. And his like kind of vision of like how to like look at the game is different than we have seen before. So we reached out to him and commissioned basically and asked him to do screenshots for this book. So the book doesn't have a lot of screenshots. It's mostly illustrations, either done digitally or with pencil or paint. But it has some screenshots, and they were like especially done for this book, kind of, and they have a kind of certain atmosphere to them, and I really like them a lot. He both created new screenshots and some of the screenshots that he already made. And as you can see, it just has lots of like nice drawings. Some of the modern stuff in there as well. It shows you how EVE has kind of evolved. Check out the propeller, like on the ship. Can you see it? Okay, maybe not. And it also shows you parts of the universe, which sadly or not sadly, depending on your point of view, haven't been fleshed out yet. So it shows you parts of the universe which our artists have conceived and thought about, and our creatives have thought about, but still haven't found their way into EVE Online or any of its sister games. We also discovered there was a bunch of art that was done for Dust 514, which never had been shown. Like art showing the terrain, the planets, the vehicles, the atmosphere scrapers, and the processors, stuff like that that we really hadn't shared before. So it was really fun to share that, because it gives you kind of the on the ground and in the sky perspective, which I don't think we've ever kind of combined there before. And also, of course, the character art. And we were lucky enough that the Valkyrie team allowed us to take some of the art that they are developing, which is like fresh off the press, like stuff that's just being developed right now, and some of it hasn't been shown before, or some of it is in development, it may change. But you see this beautiful illustration of Raun, the Valkyrie main character, and kind of visions into what the environments look like there. So it's I cannot contain my excitement for this book. We're also doing a limited edition of it. Sadly, we don't have it here at Fanfest. We only have one copy. I'm going to put it up at the store for you to see. Because of weather, we couldn't get it here into the country in time. So it's only going to be available on the internet, and it's beautiful. It's like in this like white kind of clamshell book, and got like a stormtrooper color theme to it. It contains 2 lithographs, and the first 1,000 are going to be signed and by the artists themselves. It's a run of 2,001 units, which is probably far too little. We realized just based on the reaction that we're getting from this book, and it's going to be available for sale tomorrow at 3 p.m. GMT tomorrow, which is 11 a.m. on the east coast of the US and 8 a.m. on the Pacific, and whatever, if you live somewhere else, you can figure it out. But it's going to cost $89 or 89 euros, depending on if you're in plus shipping. And I'm not saying this from an evil marketing perspective, but I think it's going to sell out pretty fast. Now, last year, we talked about models, ship models, not the kind of models. And we're working on them. Very, very soon, you will have them in your hands. We're working with quantum mechanics on a Megatron model. It's going to be 10 inches. It's going to cost less than $100, and it's going to be beautiful, and it's going to be very nice, and it's going to be out kind of summer-ish. And we'll let you know more about its availability as we get closer. Now, interestingly enough, another EVE player contacted us. This one works at a company called SMTS Models in England. So SMTS Models is one of those kind of bespoke model builders in England who handcraft these beautiful cars and airplanes. Most of it is kind of old stuff or nostalgic stuff. They sculpt it out of white metal. It's a bunch of like serious men that sit in England and like tweak stuff and to perfection. And one of them is an avid EVE player, and he asked if he could build a spaceship, and we could work with him to build a spaceship. And we said, well, maybe. So he's built a model, and I'm just going to show you my unboxing experience. Of course, there was some communication before this happened, but it's this like nice pedestal. Check the plaque on it. It's the Minimatar Rifter. It like tells you exactly all the specs about the ship. And here it is, a beautiful ship, and it's like super, super detailed. This is like not a toy, like I told my children, like just fighting them off. And just check out the kind of details like on all the like the turrets and all of it. It's based off a super high poly model that we luckily owned in the art department, but they've done some tweaks to it as well. And we figured, now that Andy has all these like paint jobs out, and then you can't just paint it one color. So we're going to deliver it to you in 2 different kind of methods. You can buy the like painted, assembled kit from them, or you can like get, Apple not included, the unassembled, unpainted white metal model. Super detailed, super nice. There's a lot of 40K fans at CCP. We do a lot of painting, and if you're into that kind of thing, this is going to be very exciting. It's going to cost less. Thank you. Like one person likes it. Okay, we have one person that's going to like. So, you know this, that the Rifter is almost as big as, kind of same size as a 747. It's a frigate, it's one of the smallest ships, but it's as large as a 747. So it's 1/400 scale, even though it's like this. And super detailed, handmade in England. And we will be announcing the exact pricing and how to buy it soon. It's going to cost less than £100, and the unpainted and unassembled model is going to cost roughly 70% of what the painted model cost, if that makes any sense to you. Now, another company that we're working with is called Triforce, Project Triforce. Now, they specialize in these high detailed replicas of game assets, and they've done stuff from Halo, from Mass Effect, and from a number of other properties, like really nice, really cool. And we talked about this last year. It was the Nyx. This is nice. This is nice. This is for your personal cave. Of course, we all know the Nyx. It really surprised those Koreans earlier. It's going to be like 28 inches, which is like pretty big. And it's built-in LED lighting, and like a really nice custom base. a limited edition. It's cool. And we have some early product shots. Super nice. So this is scheduled for like Q4 this year. I wanted to bring you more detail, but I don't want to make like empty promises and give you a date or something like that and then it slips. Oh yeah. So nice. It's so good. We're going to have like a special room dedicated to it. So yeah, it's available on Q4 2015, and it will be available for pre-order soon on projecttriforce.com. So you can like order it, put some money down, that ensures you're going to be the first one to get it. And by that, they know more how many units they're supposed to make. But I didn't like, really show you what it stands on. I didn't really show you what does it stand on. Is it like a glass stick? Is it like a metal pole? Is it wood? What does it stand on? No, none of these things. It stands on the foundations of science. So those who know physics, some studies said that 50% of EVE players work either in IT or engineering. So I assume that a lot of you know some physics. P is the force per unit in pascals. B is the magnetic field in Teslas. And μ is the permeability of the vacuum. So, in short, so you've seen these on smaller things. It uses maglev technology. It's active like magnetic field. There's several vectors that push it up and have it suspended in the air with its built-in lithium-ion batteries running the LED lighting. Pretty badass. Yeah. So, we're going to have more announcements about that and the price soon. Yeah. But anyway, the hardcover, the book, it's, sorry about like selling it this hard. It's coming out tomorrow, basically. It's coming out tomorrow in comic book stores and at Dark Horse's website. It's going to be released on April 7th on Amazon.com and in the different territories. You can pre-order it there now. And the limited edition goes on sale tomorrow, 3 p.m. GMT. So with that said, I hope you enjoy it and just continue playing the game so we can make cool stuff like this. Thank you.
Thank you, Torvi. So this year we have also made a bunch of new things for the Fanfest store. And we are looking into ways for how to make those and more like them available to anyone to buy. I don't have concrete news about that today, unfortunately, but I can tell you that I want all of you to be able to get your hands on stuff like this without having to go to an event. So we're going to make this happen as soon as we can. But now, let's get to some core game features. What we're doing with the heart of the game to strengthen what's unique and amazing about EVE Online. This high-level roadmap represents our overall plan to make substantial changes to sovereignty and warfare, stations, starbases, outposts, corporations and alliances, and the world itself and what you can encounter there, like NPCs or phenomena in space, to really radically improve the sandbox gameplay in EVE Online and get to a point where you can build stargates that take you to new parts of the universe. And we are pretty deep into this plan now in terms of working on all of these things. And rather than seeing them as separate plans, what we're really doing is weaving them all together. We're taking plans for all of these really powerful sandbox systems and combining them to put more and more control in the hands of capsuleers. So we will put new tools in your hands, and we'll have the world of New Eden itself change and adapt, and the outcomes will be unpredictable. We'll get to player-built stargates and eventually to new areas of the universe. In a massive blog a few weeks ago, we announced our plans for a completely new way of capturing and defending sovereignty in nullsec systems in EVE. This new approach does away with structure grinding as the primary means to capture systems and introduces a whole new capture model that will require more thinking, more nimble fleets, and whole new tactics. We're now working with all of you to refine the details of that system, and that is ongoing here at Fanfest and on the forums. I have 2 updates today that are somewhat related to this. The first one is about this. Not the TCU, but the Alliance logo on it. So, for a while now, we've had to halt submissions of Alliance logos into the game due to some legal issues. We have now worked those out, and we will reopen submission of Alliance logos. Your logo will get a Concord approval sigil in a corner and a kind of scuff mark texture applied. In that way, the version of the logo that ships with EVE Online, we can own that, and you can own your original logo and do whatever you want with that. And here are just some examples of what that can look like, just to give you a sense. So submissions will reopen on April 15th. You'll get full instructions and dates coming, and if you submit on time, you can get into the release where we ship sovereignty changes. So, the second update is about ship classes. We are starting a new phase of our ship balancing efforts this year. We're starting to zoom out a bit more. From a lot of balance work within classes, we're now really taking a step back and looking at all the ship classes in the game as a whole. Looking at how they relate to each other, what their capabilities are, how they interact and complement each other. And with that new focus, we will address the role and capabilities of supers and capitals. Jesus. We will address the role and capabilities of capital ships. So, in the coming months, we'll develop our plans for these ships and for other classes of ships to make sure they're fun and relevant, especially with the new landscape that will follow and the sovereignty changes. So, we'll get to it, and we'll announce the plans, and we'll work with all of you for how to deal with these ships. These are some of the biggest and most aspirational ships in the game, and we're going to make sure that they are worth owning. But now, I'd like to invite CCP Nullabo to the stage to talk about something that we have been working on since late last year. CCP Nullabo.
Thanks, Andy. Hello, Fanfest. So, last year at Fanfest, we were unveiling details of our science and industry release. And akin to changing the engines of an aeroplane mid-flight, we did a complete reformation of one of the oldest and most fundamental systems in EVE. This was during our transition to the successful 6-week release cycle, of which one of the benefits is the ability to tackle larger and more complex features that would not normally fit within our previous 6-month window. So today, I'm here to unveil some details of our next major evolution to EVE Online. I want to talk about these. So, for those that don't know, this is a player-owned starbase, and there are a few of these. There are around 62,000 of these on Tranquility, and they provide mining and industry and logistics capabilities to both small corps and large alliances. And many players actually call this their home. I also want to talk about these. Now, this is a player-built outpost, And there are around 1,100 of them on Tranquility, and for many nullsec residents, they're the base of operations, providing security for their assets, and are heavily used in industry and trading. I also want to talk about these, and we have these, and the common element here is that they're all player-built and anchorable in space. Now, the other common element is that they are all included in our plans for reimagining player-built structures in EVE Online. Now, one thing I want to be clear on straight away is that nobody's posers or outposts are going anywhere for now. We're going to start to roll out these new features that I'm about to describe alongside the existing structures. With that said, let's have a look at the details. So one of the early goals we identified was that we really want structures in EVE to be extensible and future-proof. And that means we can easily add new ones or expand on their functionality. They should be consistent in how they work, and they should have a logical progression between them. And to achieve this, we actually have a really fantastic model to copy from, and that's the ships in EVE. So ships have different sizes and classes, such as E-War, Logistics, or Damage. So let's start by breaking out the capabilities of structures and putting them into different classes with role bonuses that fit their class and multiple size variations to suit everyone, from individuals all the way up to alliances. You can imagine laying this out on a structure identification system, describing the different purposes of each and the progression available as your corporation grows and as your pockets deepen. And we've mapped out 8 different classes initially to cover all of the structure gameplay, which I'll walk you through now. To start with, we have assembly arrays. And these are for manufacturing things in industry, such as ships and modules and fuel blocks. We have laboratories for blueprint research, copying, invention, and data core farming, which is something we'll talk a little more about on Saturday. We have drilling platforms. These are for reprocessing, moon harvesting, belt mining, and reactions. And we're particularly excited here about the possibilities to shake up resource acquisition in EVE. We have market and office hubs, and these are for player-built markets, corporation offices, cloning services, and ship insurance. And we expect a lot of capsuleers will actually call this their new home. We have observatory arrays, and these are for intelligence gathering and subterfuge, for interfering with things like map intel or solar system intel, or player-built locator agent networks. We have administration hubs, and these are for sovereignty, installing system-wide upgrades and interacting with the behavior of NPCs in a system. We have gates for facilitating and disrupting ship movement, similar to jump bridges and sino-jammers. And finally, we have advertisement centers, or as I like to call them, propaganda towers, which are player-built billboards or monuments to be used instead of writing messages on the names of anchored cans. And all of these should be visually aspirational too. You know, who here remembers the first time they saw a Titan on the field? Or the first time they bought their very own battleship and span it around in the hangar? And let's make them bigger, because bigger is better. The equivalent of a nullsec outpost in our new structures is a 100-kilometer wide space city. And let's have their form follow their function. Assembly arrays that look like they build things, dirty drilling platforms, and sleek corporation offices, research laboratories, just as science fiction expects. And the visual appearance of a structure should follow its current activity. So empty abandoned stations should look cold and dark. And compare that to a laboratory that has people docked and is researching things. Or a mining facility that actually looks like it's mining. And structures should have a strong sense of home and safety. So we're adding mooring. And this is an improved version of the POS shielding. And we're also adding an ejection system for protecting personal and corporation assets on destruction. And we'll talk more about that on Saturday as well. They should be simple and intuitive to manage, deploy, and use. So we're consolidating all of the separate POS inventory locations into a single location with both personal and corporation hangars for everybody. And flexible permission groups will help you organize who can access the services they provide, including setting them up for personal, corporation, or public use. And remember this guy. Yeah. So we're replacing anchoring POS modules or installing station upgrades with a fitting screen. So on their own, the base structures don't do very much. But we're creating new structure modules to help customize the services available, such as adding manufacturing lines, corporation offices, or big guns. And the new structure rigs will provide a means of investing in permanent bonuses to the services they provide, such as increasing material efficiency when manufacturing or increasing the number of corporation offices available. Oh, and structures can be fitted inside other stations before being moved around, traded, and deployed. Now we want to create more interesting locations in space as well, so we're removing the anchoring restrictions at moons and at planets. You can place them all over the system, with some rules, of course, to balance structure blobbing. And structure combat should be more exciting. No more hit point grind. You can board structures like ships to target and activate their modules, including weapon systems and drones. And these are designed to fight groups and support friendly fleets. So it's a lot of stuff. Now, obviously, this is an ambitious and far-reaching project which adds unbelievable new gameplay possibilities that we've just not previously seen before. We talk a lot about the true sandbox nature of EVE, and these are literally your sandcastles. And whether you want to build them up or smash them down, they are as important as the ships you fly. So we are working on all of this right now. And these things take time, but the first of many structure releases will be this year. And we have a presentation on Saturday to cover all of this in more detail, and followed up by a developer blog where all you guys can give your initial feedback. For now, though, I'm going to hand you back to Seagull, so have an amazing Fanfest.
These new structures will completely redefine the landscape and sandbox gameplay in EVE Online. And like Nalvo said, you'll see some of these new structures roll out this year. It's time for Capsuleers to control the infrastructure and space-scale industrial operations required to really colonize space and make it as they see fit. But New Eden itself is not a static place. And Capsuleers are not the only ones with an interest in this star cluster. That's why we're all here, actually, at this symposium on emergent threats. In the last year, we have tooled up with new AI and updated code and systems for modifying things in New Eden. We don't even know what will happen when we put some of these things out there. The universe will keep changing without us telling you upfront what's going to happen. We will use these tools to create a landscape that challenges you, a world that evolves, and a story where your next action could trigger the storm.
is a strange, I don't know what you call it exactly, anomaly, a light anomaly, a star anomaly. And apparently the closer you get to Jove space, the better you can see it.
It has been nicknamed Caroline's Star.
Whatever happened there is massive.
What caused that whole thing to happen? Jovian stargates have gone offline.
The circadian sleepers have also been appearing.
All those things have been scanning everything that comes near them.
The unidentified structures that have been popping up and disappearing.
They are listening to you.
Preparing to explore, preparing for war.
Is it possible that the sleepers have found a way to break away from the construct?
There's no telling what they might do out of self-defense. Maybe the sleepers are the ones needing the body parts so that they can reconstruct bodies, because their actual bodies have withered away.
One more time? All right.
There is a strange, I don't know what you call it exactly, anomaly, a light anomaly, a star anomaly. And apparently the closer you get to Jove space, the better you can see it.
It has been nicknamed Caroline's Star.
Whatever happened there is massive.
What caused that whole thing to happen? Jovian stargates have gone offline.
The circadian sleepers have also been appearing.
All those things have been scanning everything that comes near them.
The unidentified structures that have been popping up and disappearing.
They are listening to you.
Preparing to explore, preparing for war.
Is it possible that the sleepers have found a way to break away from the construct?
There's no telling what they might do out of self-defense. Maybe the sleepers are the ones needing the body parts so that they can reconstruct bodies, because their actual bodies have withered away.
EVE Online is the world's largest living work of science fiction, and you are making it with us. That was the EVE keynote. Please join or watch the rest of the sessions here at Fanfest or online, and talk to us about the features and aspects of EVE Online that you care about. Thank you very much, and I'll see you around.